All right, so let's see. Make sure we're live. No, it gives us a little minute. Redirecting the Facebook Live page.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, all right. I think we are live. So, all right, let's get started. So, hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Hello.
Hey.
Yes, hey, my fellow people, fellow therapists out here working hard. We on the front lines too. So, I'm excited to have everyone here today, and I'm gonna let everyone introduce themselves. But my name is Candace Councils, and this is the lunch lessons version of the mental health panel discussion. Woo! And I'm excited today just to have these awesome therapists in the room, and they have all a plethora of knowledge and just a wealth of knowledge for us to share today. And so today, how it's going to go is I'm going to ask some questions, and then they're going to chime in and answer. I believe in all of them, and they're just amazing. So y'all are in for a treat today. And so I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Miss Shanita, and then if everyone could just introduce themselves, their name, their title, you know, what they specialize in, and where they counsel.
Alrighty, I'll kick things off. My name is Shanita Burgess. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. I help adults overcome low self-esteem so they can take control of their anxiety and depression. My office is Actualized Counseling and Community off East 5th Street here in Charlotte.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Shanita.
You.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hey. Who's going next? I am Adrian. Okay. All right. I am Adrian Norwood, owner and clinical director of Solutions for Life, located in both North and South Carolina. Generalized practice, forensically trained in domestic violence and sexually offending youth and adults. Other personality disorders, anxiety disorders, mood disorders, disorders of all types. I've been around for a minute. I've been in the field since 1993, private practice since 2007, and licensed in about 6 different states to practice.
Okay, awesome. So
Yeah,
yes, and Miss Wealth of knowledge. Awesome. Hey, Miss Adrian, we just give an introduction. Hey. Came in the right time. So hey, girl.
Hey,
hello,
everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm good. I'm so sorry for my tardiness. I was, y'all know how it is trying to wrap up sessions.
Wrap up those sessions, exactly.
Yes, we know.
That's it.
I'm Adrian Forney, and I'm a licensed clinical therapist and also an addiction specialist as well. And so I work a lot with adults and children, with Center for Emotional Health. And, I really enjoy, what I do on a consistent basis, but it's a tough profession. But our hearts have to be in it, and I'm all in. So that's just a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Adrian. Mr. Jared, the only male in the room. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. My name is Jared Evans. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor as well. I'm also a licensed clinical addiction specialist associate. And I also work for the Center for Emotional Health. And I specialize in CBT, African American males. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I enjoy the field as well. So
awesome. Okay.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. So we appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate all of y'all for being here, taking time out of your schedules to answer these difficult questions at this time. So let's get right into it. How it works. I'm just gonna ask the question. You guys chime in. Give me, y'all have like all the stuff in your brain, but give me like a 2-minute, answer so we can go ahead and move forward. So as a therapist, what have you guys seen as themes, during this time? We're dealing with racial indiscrimination. We're dealing with COVID-19, a lot of different things going on in the world today. So as a theme, what have you guys discovered as far as, things that your clients are dealing with?
Um, I have noticed just higher levels of anxiety, all across the board. That includes us as therapists, as well. And so a lot of my patients, are just reporting that, especially with COVID, for the last couple months and being indoors and having to, they all, we have always had the option to choose whether we want to go out or stay home. And so a lot of them are anxious concerning the fact that, we were on the lockdown and that they were pretty much forced to adhere to certain rules and regulations. There's anxiety about work, for a lot of people. Some of my clients have lost their jobs, and then some of them, are just dealing with so many uncertainties, homeschooling, a plethora of things that's going on. And so that's what I've noticed, just across the board, is that anxiety levels have skyrocketed due to COVID, as well as the racial tension that's going on. More people are talking about, how it makes them feel, even, outside of the African American race as well. So that's what I've noticed.
Definitely. That's good. Thank you. Anyone else notice anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I would second, all that the lovely Miss Adrian, from Miss Adrian to Miss Adrian. Definitely an increase in anxiety, depression, substance use. What I've also noticed is that I see veterans as well. So some of them are being triggered by it's triggered for PTSD in a lot of people, anybody, but especially the veterans when the rioting started, the protesting started, because, I forgot to say in the beginning, that I am a CBT therapist and also, specialize in trauma. And because trauma is stored at a cellular level, all of this energy and all of this stuff is flipping those triggered responses and, arousal response. And so, PTSD, but overall, again, under that umbrella, again, the anxiety, depression, nightmares, increase in substance abuse, because it like Miss Adrian said, it's okay, pardon the background noise. But like she said, it's stretching us all beyond, our capacity almost to comprehend everything that is going on all at one time. Although I'm a therapist and, I teach in a different way, I practice from a very holistic perspective. I am not a teacher. Okay. Shout out to all the teachers in the world. Okay. So they have tried my whole 10 years of education and training in here. So just overall, everyone kind of, and it comes in waves, struggling with different things at different times. People who didn't expect to be, ever find themselves needing financial assistance. So a plethora of, things that really we haven't even begun to see the first and or secondary wave of trauma. So much so, and I don't know if you guys as colleagues know this, but some of our boards are even asking us to become temporary licensed in other states to help with the wave that we're starting to now see. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to take.
No, you're fine. That's good. That's good. So the trauma, and I think Miss Shanita had something too you wanted to share.
I've seen is burnout, just with people being inside of their homes for months, and then adding racial injustice on top of already the stress of just being home. Have, like the lady said before, being at home, losing jobs, possibly losing insurance, so you can't continue therapy, and having to teach at home. Like, it's causing some burnout. Another thing I'm seeing, which is really, really saddening and disappointing, is the amount of hopelessness. People are feeling like this is becoming a cycle. We've done this with Ferguson a few years ago. We're having to do it again. There's a lot of people who are just feeling like things aren't going to change, which is, pessimism is definitely a tool to make people not.
Yeah.
The thing is, people are feeling like they're not doing enough. And so that's kind of bothering with them. Like they feel like they need to be doing more and they're not knowing what more they can do. So those are 3 things that I've been seeing specifically.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's good. That's
I was
good.
thinking everything what everyone has said. One thing I would emphasize is the grief. Just the repetitive nature of, those videos being on the internet and the news talking about it.
Yeah.
Especially with my team, my boys, man, like they just have so much pent up energy and anger. Last week I had to talk someone out of not looting, because he was so angry. I had to redirect that energy towards something else. And luckily, he made a good decision. But with that being said, just as you say, hopelessness, depression, grief, it just layers on top of layers, and it's kind of hard to navigate through. But overall, those are the common themes I'm dealing with for the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's good stuff, y'all. And to speak on that anger too, if someone could talk about how do you channel that anger and rage, because you may have lost your job, but also I'm talking specifically about the racial injustices, how, I guess, how did you channel how to help him or talk him down from the looting, because some people have different beliefs. They believe in, the looting. They've been doing this, white Caucasians have been doing this to us for years. So it's time for us to get back. And, I don't believe in that personally, but, what are some things that you guys had to do maybe to talk someone down from the anger and rage? How do we redirect that kind of energy?
Well, with me specifically, I use a CBT approach as well as like an African Center approach, but mainly just education, helping them process those emotions. I validate his feelings. I say, bro, like I feel just like you feel, man. I feel like I should be out there too. But we can make that decision, but we can also process some other decisions to make. If we go out there, what are the pros and cons? If we go out there, loot, what could happen? So I went step by step sequencing those decisions, and I talked about the other side. Well, we decide just to protest, peacefully protest. What are the pros and cons of that? What is that overall goal of looting? What is our overall goal of peaceful protest? And we just was able to kind of process those feelings and emotions. And luckily, I mean, he went out there, but he came back home that night.
There you go. Right. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else had anything for the anger and rage and redirecting that, or any anxiety, people dealing? I mean, I know I am, dealing with anxiety as well, and just overwhelmed. But I think that's where we step in and say, okay, I got to take care of myself, first, and then be able to counsel others, and then be able to, give others help and some hope. So
I think, oh, go ahead.
You first. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be real quick. Candace, you touched on self-care, and I wholeheartedly believe that we as therapists, especially during this time, we have to take a step back and look at how we were managing our own personal self-care previously, and how we need to make changes to ensure that we don't crash and burn, because we have a lot on our shoulders. And so if we're carrying all of the issues and grief and that we're experiencing ourselves as African American race, and we're projecting it onto our clients, then we're in a dangerous situation. So I think we have to realize, what's our stuff and what's their stuff, and then what's the common grounds that we all share, together, because we are all in a boat together, trying to just gain some type of understanding, gain a sense of peace, even in the midst of the chaos. And so self-care is necessary, and, getting enough rest, making sure that we're eating right, all of these things I feel like as a therapist that we need to focus on so that we can continue. Because if we don't focus on the necessaries or the necessities right now, then after all is said and done, we don't have nothing left to give. So
exactly. I would just second and third and fourth everything that is being said, and especially, self-care, because we're, like you said, we're all kind of sort of feeling this from so many different layers and levels. And we were already, experiencing compassion fatigue and burnout and all of those things, like just on a regular, even pre-pandemic, right? So just going through it, and the uncertainty of it all, not even being able to catch your breath, even from, pre-pandemic, now pandemic, also trying to, adjust and figure out a pace, because it's so uncertain. We don't see an end to this, and like our good brother said, people experiencing that grief, or I apologize, whoever said that, and people just losing hope and not, and really picking, reaching down and pulling people up from a whole new level of lows, right? And then also being vulnerable enough and self-aware enough and protecting boundaries enough to say that, you know what, I don't know. and we have to take things day by day and stay in the moment, and because we don't know, there's too many things that we don't know. What we do know is that, this thing doesn't seem like it's going to wrap up, anytime soon. And however, I am extremely hopeful and optimistic, and I, see things from a very holistic and spiritual perspective, that although, things look like they are in chaos, it's an organized chaos, because the universe is still in perfect balance and harmony, and, that brave soul, we call his name, George Floyd, Ashe, and all the other ones, Ashe, that I can't even remember their names right now, but there's something different about this time, right? And we know that we'll never go back to being the same. And in honoring, all those that, were murdered, and the ancestors, we cannot allow it to go back to being the same. What that looks like and how that unfolds, I don't know. But I think our place, or, where we're going to be most, effective, is because these waves of people, those that are out there protesting, and those that are, lobbying and doing all that stuff, they're going to be coming back from the quote unquote battlefield, right? So as we undergird ourselves and take care of ourselves so that we can continue, because this is a very important work, because like, all of us have echoed, we have been literally talking people off of the ledge in many different ways, from self-harm to, wanting to harm others, So, yeah, self-care is extremely important. I know that, I haven't moved from this spot that I'm sitting in probably for the last week, and certainly since at least 9 o'clock this morning. And I'm gonna have to jump off of here depending on how long we go, because I have another, client at 1 o'clock, and I'm going back to back until about 8 p.m. tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's
real. It's real.
out
Yeah.
here.
It's real. Yeah. And I, I want to go to Shanita and then come back to you, Miss Adrienne Norwood, to talk about the, how we can get back to our history. But Miss Shanita, you had something regarding the
3 things I think might be helpful is when we talk about self-care and what that may look like. I think a good way to imagine it is taking care of yourself the way you would take care of a small child. Something that we were joking about before we got on live is how we might have not eaten today. And that ain't good. So like maybe the same way we would take care of a child, have we eaten? Do we need playtime? Are we tired? Checking in to see how we feel. The way we would nurture someone who's small is the same way we have to nurture ourselves, especially right now. And the other thing is focusing on what is in our control, because when we take a lot of time to focus on the things that we don't have control over at the moment, it can leave us feel defeated and frustrated. And we know how we think affects how we feel. So if we feel like if we think that we don't have any control, the things that we may feel is being defeated, that's not what we want right now. And so even just taking care of yourself in that way, focusing on what's in your control, I think will be great. I had a third one, but it left me, so we'll just keep going. If it comes back to me, I'll bring it back up.
Yes, please do. Please do. And Miss Adrienne Norwood, I wanted to touch on, yes, I wanted to touch on you because you offer a lot of spirituality and grounding and getting back to our history. And so something that you have even taught me is that we gotta, go back to our sources. And so I just wanted you to touch on a little bit of how do we get back to that? Like, how do we, like, what is our first step when it comes to knowing our history, knowing that we're kings and queens? Yes, slavery happened, but like who are we really? Because I'm tired of hearing about this.
Oh
I
my God.
really
Yes,
want
we are.
to know. Yeah.
We are multifaceted, multi-dimensional divine beings. We're, how do you say it? We're having, we're spirit beings having this human experience, and, forgetting that, whatever or however you identify, God, the universe. When I say God or the universe, I'm talking about the divine creator, who is still in control of all things. And yes, all of those, tragedies and atrocities have happened and continue to occur. But, it's really a very thin line because, we're still grieving and feeling it, but yet we gotta figure a way to get beyond it, because if not, we'll be stuck in the same cycle of doing things. We first and foremost, we are part of the human race, and I think there's an aspect of what is happening now that do I think God caused it? No. I have a little bit of conspiracy theorist in me, so I'm gonna table that for right now. But if we choose to see it from this higher perspective, this is a blessed time. This is a time for us to to heal ourselves, to go back to understand who and what we are, from a greater perspective. We're not just African Americans, you know what I'm saying? But understanding where we come from, honoring where we come from, because we have a rich history beyond slavery. We didn't come here, we weren't born slaves, you know what I'm saying? We are creators and manifestors of empires, and the first mathematical equation and pyramids, and we have so much rich history. But of course, we've been conditioned and programmed to believe otherwise, and so to thy own self be true. As you begin to know yourself and understand yourself, then it kind of is a natural progression. It's for me, I kind of sort of grew up multicultural. I grew up north, so it's I have a little bit of a different perspective, and kind of always grew up around kind of sort of fist raised, like and have a love and passion for the continent. My graduate studies took me to Ghana, West Africa, but first and foremost, knowing that, it is by our divine birthright, you know what I'm saying? That we are multifaceted and dimensional. I don't know if I'm articulating it correctly, because number one, I'm really passionate about it, but it's a lot. It's a lot to, try to articulate. It's a lot to digest, especially, Willie Lynch did a really good job at creating and creating the psyche and breaking the psyche of the African American family community, men and women, and we still are, feeling the effects of that, from a micro and a macro level, you know what I mean? Systemic. I mean, it's been set up by design, and so, yeah.
I mean, you definitely answered that. I mean, it's a lot. Like, you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we probably have to have another whole session on the whole like breakdown of it. But it sounds like, if somebody wants to check out Willie Lynch and, just starting with the history, the internet has a plethora, I mean, your sources, but
Absolutely.
The information is out there. Yeah.
I hope I did that justice. I hope I did, especially,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I know we don't
A
have
lot
time
more.
for
I'm
all of
struggling,
that.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not get
yeah, we're
real.
gonna set that up so everybody can understand. But start with some Willie Lynch. Just start with some Willie Lynch.
Just look that up, right?
Yeah, look
And
that
then-
up. That's the first step.
And then call your therapist. Call a
Right.
therapist friend, because you're gonna need one after you read that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So yeah, so wanting to get back into the therapy side, but thank you, Miss Adrienne Norwood, for highlighting on, we got to get back to our true selves, knowing who we are, investing in our history, because I mean things are at our fingertips. The information is out there. Start researching, start understanding who you are. I think that helps with not being intimidated by other races. That helps with, just being able to speak up and being able to be true to you. And I mean, I've been working on that a lot. So I definitely can understand that walking. As I know more, I will share more. And so I'll get with Miss Adrienne to set that up so we can talk more about who we are. But so yeah, I want to go into the therapy side of things. And because today I want people to understand what therapy really is and what we as therapists do. It's not just talking, it's not just, oh, we're going to give you some advice. No, we really walking this thing out. And so I want people to understand that, not just from my perspective, but you all's perspective. So I'll just get right into it. I'm going to create some scenarios. And if you guys could just chime in and answer those questions about how in your practice do you walk through this. And so my first one is, we'll start with Mr. Jared. How do you walk through a Black male who is anxious? Maybe he's in his 20s, he's working, he has a nice job and everything like that, but he is so anxious about driving, going out. Like what's the first step? How do you lay that treatment plan out for him?
Well, first, I would listen and validate his feelings. Like everything that he feels is valid. From jogging in his neighborhood, from driving in the car, from anything, purchasing something, delivering something. Like any anxiety, worry, fear that he has is valid. So I would start there by validating his feelings. And two, I would just listen, and let's just continue to listen more and just figure out which one is like, not necessarily rational, but more so like, which one is like hurting, like your daily activities, which is like paralyzing the things that he wants to do in his life. Like, is it helping? Is it hurting? Like, figure out ways to kind of develop some supports where he can feel empowered to want to do those things. There's many ways I can kind of go in this scenario, but I know for me, I would validate his feelings. I would validate his concerns. I would give him an opportunity just to be, just to feel. And then through that, as you work through those issues, try to figure out, I guess, some ways that we can overcome some of those fears.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we'll treat a person who is very anxious during this time. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm anxious. I'm not sitting here pretending. I mean, I feel what he feels. So it's just, I want to take him through a slow process of validating his feelings and working through those anxieties.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. And anyone else want to touch on the male perspective, but also throwing in the next scenario would be, what about a mother? She's anxious about her son. She's anxious. I mean, she may not even have sons. She may have just children, Black children, that she's afraid of something that will happen to them. So if someone could chime in, and how do you, where do you start?
I think this is it's a multi-layered. We might have to have a whole
right
forum on that too. Myself, I have a Black male that I'm raising, and even though he's 7 years old, I think my husband and I, our guards have gone up tremendously. As far as even letting him go outside to play. We're all on the same page, like in our neighborhood, we're close and everything like that, safe area, but it's like our our senses are heightened due to everything that's going on. And so I think just talking with clients that are experiencing those same type of fears and anxieties, like Jared said, the first thing is to actively listen, to validate, do all the basics that we need to do, and just let people feel how they want to feel during this time. And also, I'm expecting a girl. And so it's the same, I feel the same that, you go into protective mode, no matter what, and so, being able to relate to those clients that are going through the same exact thing, I think, just realizing we're all human and that we're going to feel certain ways about our children and how we parent, because our parenting during this time probably for so many people has shifted. And so being careful also to not take over the session and say, oh yeah, I understand. Just saying, hey, I get it. I get how you feel. I get where you're coming from. Let me give you a small example, and then let them, kind of build on that so they won't feel by themselves. Because I think a lot of clients feel like, oh, well, you don't know what I'm going through. You've never been through it, and some things we haven't been through. But for the things that we can relate on, I think it's important to name it, to let them know that they're not by themselves.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yes, being that sense of belonging. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you, Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I feel like they got that covered. That was really good.
Yeah,
yes, good. Y'all slammed that one.
Yes. Exactly. One thing I would add, as a mother, I have a son and a daughter, trying to find that balance, because I'm a beast when it comes to my children anyway, as we all are, right? And even our clients, but that delicate balance of, talking about it, letting them express, however they're feeling, but not instilling fear in them, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's also my hope that by the time, they get out of my care, or like, because they're still young, that things will be different, Mm-hmm. I'm knowing that I'm standing in the gaps. I'm standing in faith that by that time, hopefully they won't even have to worry about it. Right. But, not living in a bubble and not living in, on Fantasy Island either. Talking about it. But again, just trying to strike that balance of where we are being aware and conscious, but not instilling fear. So I know me personally, just, as a mom and, then a therapist, I agree and second everything that they just wrapped up so nicely with a bow. But my personal experience is that one of a very fine line of a balancing act, right? And so we probably will have to come back and talk, because it's very multifaceted and multidimensional. Have us all back, Candace, so we can.
Yes, I'm feeling this, because I'm like, it might need to be 2 hours or something. We all sitting in the room and eating, and we all have time. So, and I appreciate y'all for taking the time out. And I do have a few more questions before we wrap up. So we're gonna ask those, and then we'll wrap it up. So
absolutely.
We can get
Can I say this really quick, just in case if I have to bow out? I am so grateful to my fellow colleagues. It was a pleasure meeting you guys today, and I hope and pray this will not be the last time that we can jump on here and support one another. Number one, know that if there's anything that I can do to show support, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have to take care of each other and help each other get through this. So I'm grateful to have, met everyone today. And I'm gonna, throw up the church finger and, and then I'm trying to figure out where the button is. So
I think it's at the bottom. If you press end and leave meeting, it should work. So thank you again so much, Miss Adrian, Miss Queen, for going. Yes, thank you again.
Until I have to go, but if you just see me disappear, I just wanted to
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate you. Thank you, Queen. So yes, two more questions. So this one is kind of heavy, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to know. So the next scenario I have is someone that has watched the George Floyd video. They have watched his death, or we could even talk about the young lady who recorded it that has trauma during this time. And I get swelled up and feel all these feelings when I say it. But as a therapist, how would you guys help this person desensitize from hearing these things, hearing what Mr. Floyd said when he was on the ground? How do we help someone desensitize from this kind of trauma? And it's hard. Whew. Lord.
Yeah.
I will be honest and say that I don't know how to answer that. Because I think with it being so fresh and on our hearts and our minds, and then it's repetitive when you see it, it's really hard to connect the emotions because they're all over the place. Because one minute I find myself being angry, then I find myself being sad, then I find myself being nervous, all in the same realm. And so to be able to address that with the individuals that were directly involved, I don't quite have that answer yet.
Yeah.
I think that it's really heavy.
I would say this on two fronts. I don't think we are able to desensitize ourselves from that, because that's a human emotion. That's a life being taken away before our eyes. Two things I would say. I would encourage that person to kind of not, I guess, put themselves through that. And what I mean by that is, like, the last police execution I've seen was in 2016 with Philando Castile. And I vowed from that day that I would never look at another video, like just look at it. I'm familiar with what happened with George Floyd, but when they show the video, I either have it on mute, or I just close my eyes to the next segment. Mainly because you can't get those images out of your head. Like, I remember I was so messed up. I was at a summer camp in Princeton when Philando Castile was murdered by a police officer. And I remember I was just so angry, but I was working. I was with kids. And, I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty, I'm pretty positive. So it's like, for my whole mood to change, or my whole mood to shift like that, I realized that day I cannot put myself through that emotionally anymore.
Yeah.
So I want to say desensitize yourself. I would more so like understand your boundaries. And, if it does unfortunately happens again, may not like look at it or have it on mute, because getting his voice out of my head has been very difficult to do. And the last point I would make, to help the person who may have been recording, I would encourage them, like, it may be difficult for you to get that out of your head, and you may be dealing with a lot of trauma right now. But look around the world, look what you sparked based on that video. I understand you're going through this trauma, but you have sparked a movement.
Yeah.
I mean, this has touched so many countries. We have protests in all 50 states. Montana, like Idaho, like those states, we have protests, and we have some laws or some restrictions that have come from this. So even though it's hard, think about the impact that you have by being brave enough to pull out your phone and record, to endure, listen to him, seeing his eyes, seeing like him take his last breath. Like, you sparked a movement. And I pray that this would continue. That's how I would encourage you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's good. I know, like, it's hard for all of us to even think about or fathom that. I know one thing that I would do would be, I mean, there's no kind of treatment, there's no answer, there's no, you know, like I said, because we're all human and things do happen. And sometimes it's hard to go, you know, deep with that person because you're grieving with them, you know. But maybe some EMDR, and I mean, because EMDR is about the trauma, you know, it's about the replaying of thoughts in your brain. And my thing is, God has given us the tool that, you know, our brains can be changed. And even though it's traumatic right now, you know, there is healing that can come from it, you know. And like Jared said, you know, just thinking about the things that have happened, if that would have never been recorded, where we'll be now, you know. So that's really good. Thank you, Jared.
Something I just wanted to just kind of add is kind of taking what Jared said and putting it into a quote. I remember Mr. Rogers always saying, I love me some Mr. Rogers. He always said to look for the helpers. And that's kind of what Jared was saying, like pay attention to the things that it sparked. Look how everything changed. Look for the people who want to help, because paying attention to that death, it will completely ruin your spirit. Like I didn't watch that video, and I refuse to watch any videos going forward. And I haven't watched videos in years. I refuse to do it because it is a human response to watching someone die. It's trauma. And for the woman who recorded it, I just hope and pray that she's getting the help that she needs, so that way she can at some point back up that trauma smaller and smaller until it's at its smallest point.
Right. That's good. Thank you, Shanita. Thank you. Ooh, okay, so now we got that hard question out the way. My last question for you guys is, what are some good practices to pick up at this time? I know, Shanita, I love that example of, you know, thinking of it like taking care of a child. That's really good. And so what are some things that we can do to create balance, some things that we can do to help ourselves or during this time?
I think the word boundaries came up a couple of times. I'm big on that, you know, as far as not necessarily being like having a lack of compassion, no, but saying, okay, there's nothing more that I can say or do, or realizing, you know, I think Shanita, you had touched on that, realizing what we can control and what we cannot control, and then incorporating our own personal boundaries and realizing, hey, we can help, you know, our clients, you know, in certain ways, but there are some things that we're not going to be able to change, and then some days they're not going to change, and then be okay with it.
Right. Definitely. What you can control, boundaries. Favorite word. Yes.
Yeah. You know me.
Yes. Boundaries. I love it. Yes, ma'am.
I think a big thing is also practicing mindfulness. And that's, for those who don't know, paying attention to your body in the present moment. I think we're so used to keeping our nose down to the grind. Let's go ahead and get work done and pushing things down as a means for survival, but it just doesn't work long term. Like if you're not experiencing it one way, you're going to experience it another. So I kind of use the metaphor, like, you know, when cartoons get maybe hit in the eye, the other eye gets big and stuff like that. Like, you trying to push it down, it may not present itself in that way, but it might present itself in another way. And paying attention to what your body feels like without judgment, it will be key in being able to take care of yourself better. Because if you realize you're feeling irritable, you're able to ask yourself why, and you'll be able to cope and soothe with that emotion.
Good. That's good. Mindfulness.
Yes. That as well. I try to encourage my clients to just improve like their self-mastery, like knowing themselves, creating themselves, and growing in themselves, and transcending themselves, and maintaining themselves. Like just growing that, like during this time of quarantine, like, I mean, you by yourself almost anyway, or you with your family, like why not take that time to learn more about yourself? Like be your own best friend, like relearn yourself. Like, what do you like and what do you dislike? What are you willing to tolerate? As we mentioned earlier, I cannot watch those videos. Like, I refuse to, because how it would affect me emotionally and mentally. Like, do you know that part about yourself? Like, I would definitely encourage my clients for self-mastery. Also, as she said, you know, mindfulness, and just be present in the moment.
Right. Definitely. Good. That's good. Self-mastery. Amen. Just working on yourself. I know I've started a garden since quarantine. So, but yes, I so appreciate all of you guys. So I'm just gonna conclude by asking you guys to share, how people can get in touch with you. You can also put in the email below, where people can reach out to you if they do need some help. And I will also share your information as well. But, what are, I guess, you can say your final words and then, how people can get in touch with you.
I really enjoyed this today, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of this forum. I think it's going to just enhance all of us, and it's good to meet everyone, see everyone, and I want it to get bigger. This doesn't have to stop here. And anyone who is trying to get in touch with me. I'm only working, virtually from here until November due to maternity leave being thrown in there and all of that. So I'm doing Zoom sessions and phone sessions still, and I can be reached at the email Adrienne, ADRIENNEF, as in Frank, at CEHcharlotte.com. And we can go from there to make appointments. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Adrienne.
I'm gonna run because I have a 1 o'clock as well. So it's good to see all of you and meet you. So y'all have a good day, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, we'll do this again. Bye, Miss Adrienne. See you later, girl.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go next. Once again, my name is Shanita Burgess of Actualized Counseling and Community. Actualized is spelled ACTUALIZED. You can find me at actualizedcounselingcommunity.com, on Facebook at Actualized Counseling and Community, on Instagram at Actualized Counseling and Com, and you can call me at 980-225-1721 if you all need me. Every Monday, I release videos called Mental Mojo Moments. If you all want to just kind of get a little quick quip of something good for your spirit, you can find me any of those social media sites. I hope you all have a great day. And thank you so much, Candace. I'm honored that you asked me to even be here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, madam. Thank you. I really appreciate your expertise in being here. So like I said, I will make sure to put everyone's information below just in case, you resonated with one therapist, and you can contact them to schedule a session. Thank you, Ms. Shanita.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And then there was two.
All right.
Now, my name is Jared Evans. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram. Also, I work for the Center for Emotional Health. You can contact me at Jarrett, JARRETT, at CEH.com. I can also give my personal email as well, in case, want to connect that way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And Candace, I want to thank you once again for allowing me to be a part of your platform. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Mr. Jared. And we will all, like I said, be back again to do this again. I'll put everyone's information below. And until next time, we'll see y'all later. All right, bye. All right.